ChatGPT can now run your n8n workflows on demand, and I'm about to show you what that actually looks like. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to create a brief for Jason at Google. It'll find the workflow in n8n, ask for permission to execute, and there it goes. In about 30 seconds, I have a complete client brief ready, which is perfect if I'm about to jump on a call with them or just want a quick rundown without chasing down account managers. So here's the brief: project status, what's completed, what's in progress, any blockers, key discussion points from recent emails, any recommended talking points. Now I can actually have a conversation with ChatGPT about this client without wasting time feeding it context. This is the shift. ChatGPT transforms from being just a tool to an actual member of your team. Let me show you what just happened behind the scenes and how you can set this up. When I asked ChatGPT to create that brief, it didn't just generate a response based on its training data. It actually triggered an n8n workflow. That workflow ran several steps. First, it searched my ClickUp client roster for Jason at Google, found a match, then it pulled all the tasks associated with that client. Next, it fetched every email I've exchanged with Jason. Finally, it fed all that data into an AI model, which generated the structured brief you just saw. All of this happened conversationally. I didn't open n8n, I didn't fill out a form, I didn't copy and paste anything. I just asked ChatGPT and it handled the entire workflow. So this was all made possible because n8n released instance level MCP support. It's a way for AI models like ChatGPT to connect to external systems and trigger actions. What this means is that ChatGPT can now directly access your n8n instance and run any workflow you've built. So when you ask ChatGPT to do something, it recognizes that as a task it needs to handle. Instead of just generating text, it runs your n8n workflow, the automation executes, processes the data, and sends results back to ChatGPT, which presents them in the conversation. From your perspective, you're just talking to ChatGPT, but behind the scenes, n8n is doing all the heavy lifting. This is the shift that actually matters. AI agents stop being isolated tools that need constant hand-holding and start becoming teammates that understand your business context. Before, you had to manually bridge that gap. Now you're just telling it what you need and it handles the execution. And this scales. Every n8n workflow you build becomes conversationally accessible through ChatGPT. Alright, so now that you've seen what this can do and understand why it matters, let me walk you through exactly how to set this up yourself. By the way, if you want the template for this workflow, just click the link in the description. You'll be able to download this as well as other templates for completely free, or if you'd like an AI solution tailor-made for your business, you can book a free call with us. So to enable MCP, you need to make sure that your n8n instance is updated to the latest version. Once you've done that, in your settings, you should be able to see a tab called MCP Access. Go ahead and enable that. You'll see the server URL appear. This is what will establish the connection between ChatGPT and n8n. Go ahead and copy that and open ChatGPT. Keep in mind, you also need to be subscribed to either the Plus or the Pro plan. Open the settings menu and under Apps and Connectors, scroll down until you see Advanced Settings. Toggle on Developer mode. You'll only be able to trigger workflows through ChatGPT while in developer mode, and you'll know it's enabled by the orange outline around the message box. Now go back into the list of apps and press Create App. This is where you'll paste the server URL you copied from n8n and then give it a name. Since this MCP server hasn't been reviewed by OpenAI, you'll need to press Acknowledge to grant permission. Now here's something important. Even though the connection to n8n is on the instance level, you'll still need to give permission to individual workflows for ChatGPT to access them. So if you have automations that could potentially reveal sensitive data, ChatGPT can't trigger that automation unless you specifically enable MCP access for that workflow. Once you hit create, it'll bring you to a consent screen to confirm the connection, and then you're good to go. To trigger any workflows, press the plus button, and under more, press the n8n app you just created. Let's run a simple test to confirm that the connection worked. I'll ask it to list the workflows it has access to, and since we haven't enabled MCP access to any automation yet, it'll say that there are no workflows currently available. Now go back into your n8n workflow, press the three dots on the top right, go to settings, and you'll see the option to make this workflow available in MCP. Once you've enabled that and ask ChatGPT again for the list of workflows, you can see it can now interact with one. You can see which workflows ChatGPT has access to by either the icon here or by going into the MCP access settings and viewing the list of available workflows. Now that you have n8n connected to ChatGPT, it's it's time to configure the workflow. So it starts off with a form trigger. Since ChatGPT can view this workflow and its schema, it'll be able to see what inputs are required to run this automation. In this case, it's just the client name and the company name. Next, the automation pulls the client roster from ClickUp. For this demo, I've kept it super simple. Just the client name, company name, their email address, assignees, and the list URL. Now the list URL is actually important because it links the client to the dedicated space where the tasks are stored. Next, an edit fields node isolates the information required for the LLM to identify the correct client. It does require a bit of data mapping if your client roster is structured differently, but you can use the search function to quickly find the correct keys to map. After we pulled all the required information from ClickUp, it's aggregated into a single item and fed into a large language model that identifies the correct client based on your input. There are three potential outputs the LLM could generate. The first is a perfect match. In that case, the automation continues. The others are multiple matches or no match, and in those cases, the item wouldn't pass through the filter node, which stops the workflow. ChatGPT will then respond with the issue. You can clarify further, and it'll run the automation again. Once it passes, it uses the list ID for the client and grabs all the tasks from ClickUp. We'll then use an HTTP node to make an API call to ClickUp to grab comments for each task. Since we're using an HTTP node, you'll need to set up your credentials. Unlike the built-in ClickUp node, you'll need to select predefined credential type under authentication and look for ClickUp OAuth 2 under credential type. Then just create a new credential and connect your workspace. The next part of the automation loops through the individual task, grabs the comments, and merges them into a single item. The automation then grabs the client email from the client roster, which is used in Gmail to look for conversations with them. This could also be done with Slack if that's where you communicate with the client. Next, we need another edits field node to extract the email body, subject, and date. Gmail returns a lot of data per email, so by having this node, it helps reduce the token cost when data gets fed into the LLM. In the last OpenAI node, this generates the client brief. We're feeding it the conversation with the client from Gmail as well as the list of tasks from ClickUp. Once it generates an output, it triggers a response to webhook node that sends the client brief back to ChatGPT. That's where you can review the results and discuss with ChatGPT about the client, potential action steps, and so on. So that's the full setup. You now have ChatGPT connected to n8n and you've built a workflow that can run conversationally. From here, you can build up more workflows and make them available through MCP. The more automations you have accessible, the more useful it becomes. If you found this helpful, feel free to drop a like and subscribe, and let me know what other automations you'd like to see built. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.